All right, what's happening, y'all, man? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, about to get this game review done. Definitely going to be shorter than most of them because it's just not much to really evaluate. We're out there with the backups of the backups of the backups, and I mean, I'm going to try to break down position groups and talk about specific players, but at the end of the day, I mean, what can you really take from this game? How well the fifth string center played, how does that affect our future? You know what I'm saying? So we're definitely going to break down this game, and I'm going to talk about as much as I can, especially the injuries. But this definitely isn't going to be like the normal 30-minute long game reviews that I normally do. So before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get the notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. I'm sorry for not doing the post-game live stream. It's already late, so I'm about to bust this video out and then I'm just done. I mean, y'all saw me tired during the stream. I was struggling. That game, first of all, that game was so boring. If I wasn't a burgundy and gold fan or Eagles fan, I would not have been watching it. That game was, I mean, the Eagles was just running the ball on us like it was nothing. Time was going by so quick. It was just ugly. It was a little fun in the beginning, especially while we were winning, and then it just got ugly. But man, let's go ahead, let's get it. All right, so y'all know how this works, man. We go position group by position group, starting with the offense, and I also talk about the offensive and defensive coordinators, Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio, and a little bit about Ron Rivera, if he had some sort of effect on the game, like a direct effect. Starting with the quarterback, of course, I mean, we had Garret Gilbert out there. I thought the whole decision to start him the entire game was silly. Like, I feel like out of all of our QB options, if you're talking about Garret Gilbert, Kyle Shermer, Jordan Ta'amu, and maybe even Steven Montez off of the Lions practice squad, to me, I'd prefer to see Steven Montez or Jordan Ta'amu out there because those guys have higher ceilings. They have more potential. So it's just like, I mean, we're not expected to win this game anyway, so why not throw out the bigger boom or bust rather than playing it safe with this guy that, first of all, Garret Gilbert doesn't really know offense. He has a little bit of experience with Ron Rivera in Carolina, but if anything, Kyle Shermer's been on our practice squad for like the majority of the season. So if you wanted to argue like somebody that knew our offense, Kyle Shermer was the guy. If you wanted to argue, you know, bigger boom or bust, a guy with higher potential, you would go with Jordan Ta'amu, or even bring back Steven Montez, who's a good mix of both, of higher potential with the bigger arm, mobility, and knows our playbook. I don't know, the Garret Gilbert thing starting the whole game is weird to me, especially since Jordan Ta'amu, not only was he not starting, not only was he not second string, but he wasn't even active. So they didn't even let him like play at all. Even if Garret Gilbert and Kyle Shermer got hurt, Jordan Ta'amu still wouldn't have been able to play. I just thought that was silly in the first place. And then on top of that, I don't know why, even though Garret Gilbert made a couple of nice plays, I think at a certain point you just start Kyle Shermer to see what you got in him. What's the point of just keeping Kyle Shermer on the practice squad all the time and having him as a backup in a game like this if you're not going to at least take a look at him? Like, what literally was the point? Now we have no idea if Kyle Shermer is good or not. You can kind of assume he isn't, but it would have been nice to throw him out there in a real game set, in a regular season game where we're trying to make the playoffs, when we really need to win, to see what he can do. So I just thought that was silly. And overall, Garret Gilbert, I mean, it wasn't a great game. I honestly, now granted the offensive line wasn't helping him much either, but like, it was just, he was so limited. He was basically just slightly slower Taylor Heineke. Like, it just wasn't much we could really do there. I mean, even that deep ball to Terry, and I'm so glad he threw it. Shouts out to Scott Turner for the call in that play up. But like, that pass was even underthrown. His best two passes were probably back-to-back Ricky Seals-Jones to the sideline and John Bates up the middle, almost for the touchdown. Jaret Patterson ran it in right afterwards. Other than that, I mean, that was just a pretty bad game from him. Then moving to the offensive line, it was terrible. This was their worst game easily, but what do you expect? And that's honestly the theme about all of this. People want to keep saying no excuses. People want to keep saying next man up. But please tell me, what team in the NFL would you expect to win games when they're down to their fourth string quarterback, when they're down to their fifth string center, their third string guard, technically their second string right tackle, because Samuel Cosmi was the starter, but this is his first time playing since like, what, early October? We had our second string right tackle playing the majority of the season for us. So this was Samuel Cosmi's first game back from a major injury. He was on IR at one point. And then on top of that, JD Mckissic, your most electric, most dependable running back. And most importantly, your best pass blocking running back. People don't talk about that enough with JD Mckissic. He's on IR. Curtis Samuel, who we signed, I mean, I'm not even going to count him. We're not even going to count Curtis Samuel because he's never really been there in the first place. And then on defense, you're playing with half a defensive line. You're playing with, and guys got hurt during the game. Speaking of guys getting hurt during the game, corners. At a certain point, by like halftime, we had no starting corners out there. Kendall Fuller already didn't play because of COVID. And then William Jackson got hurt in the game and was already downgraded to out immediately. So I'm not even sure if he's playing next week against the Cowboys. And then Cameron Curl, your second best defender, only behind Jon Allen, who's second in NFC Pro Bowl votes at his position. Cameron Curl, our second best defender, out with COVID. You're down to backup safeties as well. Just please tell me what team in the NFL you can expect to win. I mean, most of these teams, even the best ones, you say, even ignoring the rest of the team, if you just say they're down to their fourth string quarterback, you don't expect them to win. You don't expect them to make the playoffs. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Chargers, the Buccaneers, all of these teams, just say they're on their fourth string quarterback and that's it. You stop there. What do you expect out of them? So then the fact that we're on fourth stringers and fifth stringers all up and down the roster everywhere, we're the most hurt team in the NFL. And then even beyond that, the off the field issues, Dan Snyder, Ryan Vermillion, something every week, we're definitely the team going through the most. I'm surprised Ron Rivera even took this job. I'm pretty sure he didn't know it was going to be this bad, but like, golly, man, we're definitely the team going through the most in NFL. You take what we're dealing with and put that on any NFL team. It doesn't matter which NFL team, the Cardinals, Rams, anybody, they're not making it out of there with enough wins to make the playoffs, period. They're not beating the Eagles or Cowboys, period. So that next man's up thing and excuses does not apply here, because it's literally like, what do you want to do? I dare any other team in the NFL to do what we're dealing with and win games. Yeah, the offensive line down to the backup to the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup. I mean, what can you expect, man? Of course, the blocking wasn't good. John Moskow has been one of the best coaches in the NFL for somehow making it work this well this long. Because up to the point of this game, we still had the third best pass protecting O-line in the NFL, and we've been out there with our fifth string center and our second string guard and second string right tackle for a lot of games this season already through that point. Today was the day when the levees just broke. I mean, we just kept trying to bandage it up, and it's just only but so much you could do. So, of course, the offensive line was terrible. But John Moskow's been coaching his tail off. And then, I mean, we even had we had 7 assistant coaches out today. Wide receivers coach, DBs coach, running backs coach, all kinds of guys, quality control coaches, everything. 7 coaches were even out. So we didn't even have a full coaching staff. It's just, bruh, it's all kinds of chaos. No other team can deal with these circumstances and put together winning football. I don't care what you say. And then the running backs, I mean, what can you really expect? Now, that Jaret Patterson fumble, worried me a little bit. I mean, other than that, what can you really expect when the offensive line can't get much push? I mean, in the beginning, the first half, it looked like our offensive line was starting to put together some nice run game, but it was only so much you can do when the passing game isn't a threat. So they start to stack the box, and we can't pass protect. So it's just like, what can you really do out there? Tight ends, I mean, shouts out to John Bates and Ricky Seals-Jones for holding it down. I mean, but like Logan Thomas he was definitely primed to make the Pro Bowl this year, in my opinion. He's our star franchise tight end. I forgot to even mention that in all the injuries. I mean, again, taking a look at any team in the NFL, you take away their starting tight end and all of the other injuries I already spoke about, who can you expect to win? So Logan Thomas not being out there is huge for us right now, man. He's one of the best dual threat tight ends in the NFL, very good blocker. I mean, he's out here making crazy catches all the way up in the air, one-handed, tapping 2 feet in inbounds. I mean, we're missing that element to our offense right now. I feel sorry for Scott Turner, man. But Ricky Seals-Jones and John Bates, blocking wise and receiving wise, held it down. And John Bates, one silver lining to all of these injuries is that he's getting a lot of playing time and he's maturing right in front of us, and I like what I'm seeing from him. And then moving on to receivers, I mean, Terry McLaurin did what he could when he could, but defenses are literally game planning to take him out of the game. He's getting double teamed. There's always safety help. It's just like, what can you do? I'm glad we took advantage of the one time he was able to get free up top, but again, it was an underthrow by Garret Gilbert. Should have been a touchdown, but it ended up being a nice catch. But I mean, it's just, what can you really do? No Curtis Samuel. DeAndre Carter did what he, tried to do. Adam Humphries trying to make plays, and then Cam Sims, I don't know why we don't throw to him more often. Whenever he's thrown the ball, thrown towards, he's gonna make a play, as you could see in that Cowboys game last week. I don't know why he's not more involved in the offense or doesn't get more targets, but whatever. And then before we move on to defense, offensive coordinator wise, Scott Turner, I mean, it's really hard to judge and analyze what he's doing. A lot of people act like, first of all, we can find better, or they can even do better when they call out Scott Turner. I mean, once he gets a franchise quarterback and a fully healthy offense, then I'll evaluate him. But right now, it's just hard to. He drew up some really good plays. I mean, the times we scored touchdowns, you can definitely thank him more than you can thank the players. I mean, he was drawing up some really good plays to get guys wide open on a lot of our scoring drives. So, and oh yeah, also fourth string kicker, like, golly, man, like teams out here, bro. That just clicked in my head. I mean, I'm going to talk about that in special teams, but I mean, if you just think about all those factors, any NFL team, give me one, please. But yeah, man, I mean, what is Scott Turner supposed to do, bro? You saw flashes of good play calling there, despite all of what we're dealing with right now. Of course, there were going to be some bad play calls, but the playbook he has is so limited, he's probably only able to use 10% of it, because Garret Gilbert wasn't even really mobile, because again, he's slower than Taylor Heineke. And I'm not saying Taylor Heineke's slow. He's mobile, and he's fast enough to get things done to where I feel like we should run more read option and play action bootlegs and rollouts and things like that, move the pocket for him. But he's not like elite tier mobility. It's not like he's about to outrun linebackers and DBs, but he's definitely fast enough to make things shake. Garret Gilbert isn't. So it's just like, what plays do you really call? So I mean, I just really don't even know how to analyze Scott Turner after this game. It was just like, what do you do? And then moving to the defensive line, again, we're with like half the guys. We got Montez Sweat back, Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Tim Settle were able to play, but still no Chase Young matters. James Smith-Williams wasn't active. I don't know why, because he got activated off of the COVID-19, but still didn't play. Then Casey Tuhill, I believe, got hurt at some point. Boomy Rutimi got hurt. I mean, it's just like, I mean, even backups are getting injured. It's just bad, bro. 5th and 6th string defensive linemen are having to play and then getting hurt while playing. So now the starters that are available are having to play more snaps than they normally do. They can't even rest. So it's just like, what do you expect out of them? I still believe that everybody as a whole, especially our defensive line, has to play better. But again, what can you do? There were definitely times, though, that even when Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen were out there, I expected more out of them. But at least Jonathan Allen got a sack. And shouts out to Boomy Rutimi for his as well. And then the linebackers, Jamin Davis just straight up shouldn't have been a first-round pick. I mean, hopefully he'll be really good next year after another off season. But, like, it's just not looking good right now. He just plays too scared. You see flashes of his speed. You see flashes of potential. But overall, he's just not putting it together. He's just playing scared. He just looks lost out there at times. Caholcom's doing whatever he can to hold it down, to hold everything together. But I mean, even then, our linebackers are hurt. Technically, John Bostic was our starting middle linebacker. We lost him for the rest of the season against the Falcons, and then backup Khaleke Hudson has been out for weeks. So it's just like, what can we do? I didn't even talk about the linebacker group as far as injuries go, but we're hurt there as well. Landon Collins is doing what he can and being opportunistic and making plays, picking up fumbles, getting interceptions to come right to him, which is more than what I could say for Kendall Fuller and Jamin Davis, who drop interceptions that land right in their chest. At least Landon Collins is catching them. And moving to the secondary, like I already said, bro, I mean, no starting outside corners after halftime. William Jackson hurt during the game. Kendall Fuller didn't even get a chance to play because of COVID-19. He's not vaccinated. So we're out there with Darryl Roberts and I guess Torrey McTyer starting, because Benjamin St. Juste still isn't playing, and Danny Johnson, I guess. And then Cameron Curl, our second best defensive player on the team, COVID, so he wasn't there. So you had Jeremy Reeves and Bobby McCain starting as your safeties. I mean, it's just, and Jeremy Reeves was getting killed today. I'm not exactly sure why DeSaza Everett wasn't there. Did he have COVID? Was he not able to play? I don't know. I just don't remember seeing him on the field. But I mean, either way, like, what can you really expect out of a secondary like this? And that takes me to Jack Del Rio. Granted, there are definitely situations where you can point out that, like, you should have changed things. You should have called different plays. You should have had different personnel in there. So you can't take all the blame away from Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio. But again, I ask, what do you expect him to do with these situations, man? I was just like, what play do you draw up when you're down to your 5th string defensive lineman? You have no starting corners. Your second best defensive player in Cameron Curl, the safety, is out. I mean, it's just like, what can you do? Guys are just getting beat one-on-one. Guys are lost in zone coverage. It's just, what play can he draw up? So again, I don't want to alleviate any blame for Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio. I'm not acting like they're perfect. I'm not acting like they're great, but it's just like, what do you want them to do, man? What play can those guys call? Again, there are certain times where you can clearly see, okay, Scott Turner, you should have done that. That was a bad idea. Jack Del Rio, you shouldn't have called a zone coverage and had this guy on that receiver, because that's stupid as well. But overall, it's just like, what do you really expect from these guys? It's just, what can he do? Now, granted, overall, the defense, I mean, again, injuries, but allowing the Eagles to convert 7 of their 13 third downs is terrible. Allowing them to get 519 total yards with 238 of it being running is completely unacceptable, no matter what the injuries are. I mean, that was just ugly. That was very, very ugly. But at the end of the day, man, them injuries, it's just, I mean, what can we do? What can we do, man? What can we do? That's the whole theme to this for me. And then Ron Rivera, man, my biggest gripe with him is Jordan Ta'amu not being active, and then us starting Garret Gilbert the whole game, like never even getting a chance to see Kyle Shermer. That's my biggest gripe with you. But other than that, I mean, what can you do? But yeah, man, I mean, again, this is shorter than I normally do, but that's the end of this video. It's just not much to talk about. It's not much to evaluate. There's so many backups out there that it's just like, what can you even take from this game? A lot of these guys that we had out there playing more than likely aren't even going to be on our roster going forward next year. So it's just like, what is the point of even like Garret Gilbert and Kyle Shermer? Like, there's nothing to talk about there. These guys aren't even going to be on our practice squad come 2022, let alone our roster or even having a chance to play for us as a starting quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, what can you evaluate? And it was like that up and down the roster, backups in every position group. So it's just, what I mean, I guess Sadiq Charles as a backup is interesting. He didn't look great. He also didn't look terrible. He looked bad at times and got beat sometimes, but overall, it wasn't like horrific. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. That's the best way to word it. It wasn't good for sure, but it wasn't as horrendous as I thought it would be. So that, I guess that's one backup you can talk about, because he is part of this franchise's future. But for the most part, that was just signing guys off the street just so we could put some bodies on the field. Like, it was just bad. There was a lot of guys that we just hope don't play, that we don't expect to play, that ended up not only playing but starting. So not much evaluation there. But yeah, man, please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And as always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that pulled up to the stream, that left a like on the way out. Shouts out to everybody that donated in the stream, especially. I really appreciate y'all. And as always, I super appreciate all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.